Hi guys, this is Charlie with Boxing Focus. Let's talk Golovkin, Gennady Golovkin, and his victory over Martin Murray, and what we found out from it. You know, it was fascinating. I did put up a very poor quality video on on what I expected from the fight. I expected the stoppage between rounds 8, 9, and 10, and it happened in round 11. So yeah, it kind of unfolded more or less how I was expecting, in that Murray was covering up and being tough, but spending far too much time on the ropes or in his shell, and he was getting punished for it. But there was one other interesting thing that I said in that video was that I reckoned that Chavez Jr. gives Golovkin a very good fight, and funnily enough, after the fight, Chavez Jr. tweets, "Let's fight with a £1 million bet that I knock you out." That's so he obviously sees some of the similar things that I see when it comes to Gennady Golovkin. And just to add a bit of credibility to what I'm going to say, the post-fight analysis in the UK on Channel 5 was by Steve Collins, the ex-boxer from Ireland, who we best know from his bouts with Eubank, and that's Eubank Senior and Nigel Benn, where he defeated them in every fight, I believe. He was a very, very, very tough fighter, absolutely iron jaw, and very strong and determined, and good skill as well. And he was calling out Roy Jones Jr. for a significant portion of his career, so he obviously had a lot of self-belief, and Roy Jones never took the fight. Whether that was a duck or not is debatable. Steve Collins was never a big name in the US, as far as I was aware. Anyway, Steve Collins, after the fight, said the problem with Martin Murray was he needed to back Golovkin up. He needed to push forward and use his size, because Murray was bigger than Golovkin, and he needed to use his size to get Golovkin moving backwards, which would take away from Golovkin's power and give Murray more momentum on his shots, and therefore make them a bit more powerful. Because when you're coming forward, if you're the guy that's backing up, it's much harder to generate power on your punches. And what you're allowing your opponent to step into his punches and therefore hit a lot harder. And because Murray was backing up a lot, he was unable to get the respect of Golovkin when he was landing. You could count on one hand the number of times that he landed what I would call a solid punch. And those were the times where he did actually press forward and throw shots, as opposed to backing up and trying to counter. Because the counters just weren't phasing Golovkin, even when they were landing flush. He just wasn't able to get any leverage on them. So Steve Collins was seeing what I was seeing, and he needed to back Golovkin up if he was going to stand a chance in that fight. And because he wasn't, he was basically playing right into Golovkin's game plan and strengths, and allowing Golovkin to just cut the ring off and just hammer him to death. Golovkin wasn't perfect. There were a lot of times where, he never looked in any particular danger. He never looked in like he was struggling, but he did occasionally look a little short on ideas. He did occasionally be hitting a lot of guard or missing with punches, and was obviously trying to figure out how to really break Murray down. But yeah, Chavez Jr. is challenging Golovkin to move up to 168. So Chavez Jr. obviously doesn't fancy the weight cut to 160. But at 168, Chavez Jr. still is a big, strong guy, and he would be looking to back Golovkin up and make it a battle of power. And that's not necessarily a fight that Golovkin will win with Chavez. But Golovkin may be able to fight back and go, we don't know yet. So that would be an interesting fight, and the fact that there would be 1 million in play for whoever scores the knockout is also an added edge to the fight. I would tend to think there wouldn't be a knockout in that fight. I would expect it to go the distance. As to who was going to win, I think that's up in the air. I think it would be a really, really good fight. And obviously Chavez Jr. thinks so too, because he's calling for it. Whether Golovkin's team are keen for him to move up to 168 to fight Chavez Jr. is another matter. He's calling out the entire middleweight division at the moment, Golovkin, and he was calling out Chavez and seemingly accepting the bet, but whether he wants to do it at 168 is yet to be seen. But yeah, so Steve Collins kind of agreed with me. Well, or I agree with Steve Collins. Well, I thought he gave a very insightful analysis, and he brought up one other very interesting point. It's actually illegal to hit somebody on the top of the head, and Golovkin does this kind of overhand hook, which he drops down on the tops of guys' head, especially when guys' heads when they're shelling up, when they're dropping their head down low. And possibly that's an illegal punch. I'm a little bit curious as to whether it is. It's not a punch we really see very often in boxing, which might indicate it is actually an infringement of the rules. But because it's so rarely seen, it's not something that referees have picked up on yet. So it'll be curious as to whether this is something that Golovkin starts getting told off for in future bouts. We will see. I'm sure opponents will pick up on it if it is indeed actually not a legal punch. Anyway, this is Charlie with Boxing Focus. Let me know if you enjoyed the fight, whether it went as you expected. Martin Murray put in a very brave performance. He tried hard, but he was fighting a game plan that he was never going to be able to win on, in my opinion. He was just backing up and allowing Golovkin to just maraud forward into him and take him out. Anyway, thanks for watching. Comment if you've got any opinions.